Now we properly understand what has been said. Let's now see where illegality came in. Remember, I said that the person who suddenly arrives at a land not his own ancestral land, and with the intention to steal and to turn the owners into slaves, you have committed crime against humanity. Everybody knows this very fact. The colonizers themselves know that colonization, invading another people's land and taking control of the land and of the people for their own benefits, they know it is a crime. But they hide that crime under the term colonization. They took what belongs to us, IYP. They did the same thing in other places throughout Africa, but I'm speaking specifically of IYP, Indigenous Yoruba people, specifically singling out IYP, which is my own race. That's why I speak the way I do. So let's start this way. Let's look at the intention, which is the basis of every action. The intention with which the colonizer came is the intention to steal, the intention to expand into another people's territory, the intention to turn the indigenous people into slaves on their own land. You are aware also that all of these intention are crimes against humanity, crimes against fellow humans, against the human species. That is very clear and not confusing in any way. In other words, you can see that the foundation of what the colonizer came to our land to do is an illegal foundation, an illegal intention. I hope you're getting to understand it. You can see illegality, the intention with which they came, to take what belongs to another people, to dispossess the rightful owner, and to make the rightful owners slaves, and take all that belonged to those rightful owners to be for them, the invader, the colonizer, and be using those things for themselves. I hope you understand what I am saying. Be patient and attentive to understand it. Intention goes before an action. It is the foundation for the action. The intention with which they came to our land is not actually to be friends with us. No, they only cajoled us with that deception so we could easily fall prey. This is because they had been envious and desirous of stealing what is ours from the very beginning when they saw what good is in us and in our land. They had never seen a people so blessed. Some of themselves, colonizers, were in fact living on trees and in caves and in tents in their own land. They wondered at the great buildings we, the Yoruba, were building. They wondered at how we employed our resources, like gold. Some in Africa even had gold on the point of their spear. Boxes were made of gold. Mansa Musa of Mali was especially reported to have stunned the foreigners with his use of gold. And that gold has not ceased till now, despite the colonizers taking it continuously away since that time. It keeps getting more. The Yoruba did a lot with gold. The Ashanti also did wonders with gold. All those resources became the envy of the colonizers, and therefore they came to our land with military weaponry to forcefully take what belongs to Yoruba. But for the military weaponry that they used, they never would have been able to take what is ours. Also, the Yoruba were fighting one with another. That's the disunity we talk about. Divide and rule, divide and conquer. If not also because of that, the invaders would never have succeeded in taking what is ours. Because God has given the Yoruba so much knowledge to be able to defend themselves, and no outsider would be able to defeat us. But the activities of these so-called Obas, the saboteurs, the betrayers, had compromised our position. So you can see the place of intention in this matter. Take note of it. The intention the colonizers came with is an intention to commit an illegality. It is an intention to commit crime against humanity. And that was what they carried out. They committed an illegality. They committed crime against humanity. Their evil intention started when one of them reported about the things he saw in Africa, the riches, and in his insanity, he told his fellow colonialists immediately that they had to go and replace the good things on ground in Africa. That's why they said they must go and break Africa's backbone, among which is Africa's spirituality and heritage. And this is the very spirituality that the so-called Obas compromised, selling it to the colonizers. So it was a planned thing. Macaulay told his fellow colonialists that they first had to break Africa's backbone. If not, then they wouldn't be able to conquer Africa. So that was the hidden reason why they made themselves to appear as friends to the Obas, taking from them all the knowledge and spiritual secrets of Yoruba. Thereafter, the colonizers used the so-called Western-educated elite to finish off and complete the colonizers' domination and control of our land and people. The so-called elites are the ones who show off with not believing in the traditional African system. They speak evil of the very knowledge and things that God has endued the Yoruba with. Knowledge is different from religion. Let that fact be well established in your mind. Think of all those who today has been given technological knowledge by the Creator. Should they be stopped from using that knowledge on the assumption that they are worshipping their knowledge, procedure, or inventions? Knowledge is one thing, religion is another. But the colonizers used the so-called elite to complete their agenda of breaking Africa's backbone, taking us away from our original traditional systems, and thereby making us weak and gaining control and domination over us. The Obas are the ones who handed over the secrets of our spirituality to the colonizers. Make sure you go back to these facts, don't mind that I am repeating them. It's because I want us to thoroughly understand it. So, the first thing they said they would do is to break the backbone of Africa. Take note of that. They would take away African spirituality and heritage. And that as soon as they had achieved that, they would go and dominate and conquer Africa. Can you see the strategy? You can see that it was an evil intention that they came with, not a good one. They came with a destruction intention, an intention to steal, kill and destroy, and that intention happens to be crime. So the foundation of what they came to do in our land is crime. Therefore, what they are sitting on is illegality. They are sitting on illegality because the intention and basis of it, and for which it was named, is to steal. Whatever name they choose to call it does not change this fact. They can give it a fanciful name, such as colonization. But those who do not understand these facts say that Royal Niger Company sold our land to the British. No, you don't know the secret behind it all. That's the false narrative, the Royal Niger Company story. That's the falsehood they want you to see on the surface. The arrangement that is planned for you to see on the surface, the illusion they want you to see on the surface. Underneath that surface is the real story, which is not for today. Should they try to be adamant, we would bring out the facts concerning that, but it's not for now. Before a company can come to do business in a territory, there would be an advance party. This advance party in this case came with military weaponry seizing lands and resources from indigenous owners. So you can obviously identify that foundation as being illegal. That foundation is guilty of enormous crime. They would then make it worse by claiming to be involved in colonization. No, that's only a fanciful name to hide the truth. You colonizers came to steal. It's called theft, not colonization. You can therefore see that the foundation is wrong because it is with the intention to steal. The foundation is fraudulent. It's based on a lie that hides the true intention of stealing. So whatever is built upon that foundation is false. They actually came to steal what belongs to us for their own benefit. Therefore, whatever friendship they try to forge with you is false. All they are after is what they can take away and steal. Now we understand it, right? Later, another one of them colonialists came, claiming to be a journalist, but actually one of them colonialists in the same team for the same purpose, to steal. She gave the name Nigeria. Check the date when she did that, and compare with the millions of years that we, the Yoruba, had been in existence on our ancestral land, which she now included in what she named as Nigeria. See how far back we had been existing before she came with the name Nigeria. So, you that now refer to yourself as Nigerian, have you thrown off your history, your ancestral existence for millions of years before somebody called a place Nigeria? Are you saying that the arrangement which that woman named as Nigeria, and on which her husband put the icing, is that the arrangement you consider as your ancestral identity? In what way is that your own ancestral identity? That place named Nigeria was not arranged for the benefit of anybody or any ethnicity. Not at all. It was arranged for the purpose of the stealing they came to do and to take over another people's land and resources. So, you that now call yourself a Nigerian, when did you now become a Nigerian? When Nigeria was named? That means you don't have any history, you don't have anything, you have no existence as a human being. Please, never again. Don't call yourself a Nigerian. Call yourself who you are by ethnicity. You can thus see the illegality that the colonizers did. And this is known by the whole world. They themselves have testified to the fact that it is an illegality. The evidence is in the international community. So those of you who are acting mad, you will be shocked at what you will see, what will happen to you. I will explain to you, IYP, what the evidence is, that colonizers themselves have testified to the fact that colonization is a crime. It is now clear to us what the foundation of colonization is, knowing that intention comes before an action. The foundation of colonization is to steal, and the colonizers, as at this time and season, are not denying that fact. Only that when they want to act crazy, they plead the fact that those who are leaders on our own side also compromised and made our land vulnerable to be colonized. They don't want to carry the blame alone as colonizers. That foundation that the colonizers laid, that demonic basis of their invasion of our land, which is to steal, is what all of them are still using up till now. They are still stealing. Therefore, all the time that some of us were fighting for the military to vacate office in Nigeria and for the civilians to come in, thinking that such would stop the problem of stealing and impoverishing the people, we didn't know that such wouldn't solve the problem. We didn't know it was a deeper problem. We didn't know that the foundation of stealing was still there, and it didn't matter whether it was a military or civilian government. So now we have accepted the fact we are Yoruba, we are indigenous people, we are a sovereign people, and we dwell upon our own ancestral land. We have also now come to know that the invading colonizers came to steal, they also came to kill and destroy, so that the land may become theirs, and they too know that what they came to do in our land is crime against humanity. This is clear because by themselves they brought out the evidence that what they did in our land is crime against humanity. Let's look at it. You understand that what the colonizer did in coming to take over control of our land is an expansionist agenda. But it is actually stealing, so it is on a basis of illegality. The way you would know that it is an illegality is that they themselves, colonizers, do not want such expansionist agenda to be carried out against them in their own land. It was expansionist agendas and the resistance against such agenda that gave birth to the Second World War. Hitler wanted to expand the territory of Germany. He wanted to take over the whole of Europe. at least to begin with. They all rose up in Europe against him, and they fought a real war. We all know the history of World War II. They fought against Hitler, which, as you can see, means that those who colonized us themselves and expanded their influence into our own sovereign ancestral land are people who didn't want Hitler to expand into their own territories. That was the reason for that war: resistance to the expansionist agenda of Germany. But these people who didn't want Germany to expand into their own territory had earlier on expanded into Africa. The First World War, on the other hand, was more on the basis of resisting the impoverishment of the people, resisting the tyranny of the kings. So they decided each ethnicity should stay on their own as a sovereign entity, because they were all different ethnic stocks. It was also a case of various empires putting different ethnic nations together under their own control. And this was part of the reason for the Second World War. It was thereafter that the instrument of self-determination was refined. In our own case as Yoruba, we are even more loaded with grace by Almighty God, much beyond the right to self-determination, such that we do not even need to inform anybody to stand on our own as a sovereign entity. However, what I am actually driving at this time is the fact that all of Europe stood in warfare against one of themselves, Germany, which wanted to expand to gain control over other European nations' territories. Japan, too, also expanded into China. Meanwhile, these Europeans came to Africa also as an expansionist agenda, to colonize. But when Germany wanted to colonize the colonizers, they resisted. So you can see that the colonizers in Africa know that what they are involved in, colonization, is wrong. It's bad. That's why they fought to resist being colonized during the First and Second World Wars. Millions of their own people were killed in the combined course of the two world wars. Similarly, they joined forces together to fight against Iraq, tagged Desert Storm, because according to them, Saddam Hussein of Iraq was encroaching into Kuwait. He was expanding into Kuwait. So these colonizers would not allow another nation or entity to expand into their own territory. But they themselves did the same thing, expansion and colonization, into the territories of people in Africa, and into Yoruba land in particular with regards to us. This alone is proof from the colonizers themselves that what they have done in our land, colonization, is illegal, and that it is wrong, it is bad. By resisting being colonized, they have therefore by themselves given the evidence, the proof, that the colonization of our own Yoruba land by them is equally illegal, wrong, and bad. You waged war against another entity that wanted to expand into another's territory, saying that what he did is wrong. Therefore, you have automatically marked your own script, your own expansionist activity of colonization, as wrong. What you came against and fought against in Europe is the same evil you perpetrated in Africa. So it's clear that the colonizers have judged their own case and declared themselves guilty. That expansionist program, which Europe fought against among their own selves, is what they are guilty of in coming to impose themselves upon us and naming their area of wrongful imposition as Nigeria. Which is not a nation. They packaged it.